Would you tolerate your husband gaming every night? He comes home from work and plays Modern Warfare all night. Sometimes until 10 and sometimes until 2 a.m. Talking to other players and drinking beer. He won't walk the dogs or do anything else. I want him to be more active. Our house is small and he is loud talking to other gamers. One of our dogs is very hyper and I have to deal with it. Barks when he talks loud to other players. I just want a normal night where we can watch a movie together, but if he isn't playing he goes to sleep. He won't stop playing regardless of what I say or ask nicely. What his account name? Tell him to add me. I play around the same time. JK lol, not really. Tell him he needs to alternate his schedule with his friends so they end gaming earlier. This is the gaming life of a single man. It's not practical to do this when you disturb others' sleep. No. I would not be inclined to tolerate this long term, especially if he agreed to take care of the dogs with you when you got them. I would also advise you against having kids with him if you haven't already, because he'll likely leave childcare to you like he's doing with the dogs. I left that last September. It's no way to live, and if he hasn't already listened to your request to spend time with you, it probably never will happen. Move on. In the end it will be his loss. He also seems drunk most night a little after he gets home, but all I witness is him drinking 3 or 4 light beers throughout the night. He goes right to floss and use mouthwash the minute he gets home each night. And sometimes I can smell hard liquor, but I can never find it. Doesn't sound like you have a husband so much as a sullen teenager. Expecting at least some quality time with your spouse is the most reasonable thing in the world. My boyfriend plays games with his friends basically every night, but guess what? I can tolerate that because he also makes sure to make time for me and our relationship. This though, yeah, no. Your husband has a problem. I'd possibly look into couples therapy, or, if that won't work and would just be a waste of time, you may need to put your foot down, give him an ultimatum, and, if he still doesn't change, move on. Nope. Wouldn't tolerate it again. I was married 15 years and he was a gamer. Not even as bad as this situation. I steer clear of any grown man who regularly plays video games. Addiction, poor hygiene, neglecting relationships, and other issues often go along with it. You married this. I dunno, mine does the same, but it doesn't really bother me. I enjoy my peace and watching TV for hours. He doesn't. We get to enjoy our own things separately this way. Now when he has bad games and ends up being a bitch to me over it, that doesn't fly. I'm pretty pissed at him right now cause he was a snappy little fucking queen with me, face with rolling eyes. I would tolerate it easily if my husband helped around the home first. Maybe suggest a schedule that both allows his free time and allows your relationship to be worked on and time to be spent together. As for the dog, I really suggest training. Your dog should never be barking at you for speaking inside your own home. My ex-husband used to game every night. Then fall asleep on the couch and not come to bed until 2 or 4 in the morning. For a while I found my own hobby to keep myself occupied. Then he said I wasn't making time for him. And I finally figured out it wasn't the life I was willing to live. Tried counseling for a hot second, but by then I was already a year past done with the relationship. So, no, I wouldn't tolerate my husband gaming every night. Edit. Typo. He's living a single man's life. Tell him if he wants it, he can have it, and kick him out. I've recently moved in with my girlfriend and resigned myself to Tuesdays and Thursday for a couple hours a night, then the weekends are dependent on our plans. It's a hobby of mine and it's good for keeping in contact with my friends, but I understand being a part of a couple means you can't do what you want all the time. Dude needs to realize this himself. He can game all night long, but he can't neglect his duties. Especially pets require our unconditional care, as they are not able to care for themselves. Gaming has this negative image of being somehow worse than, for example, just watching TV. But a lot of people spend their whole evening just sitting in front of the TV, binging on series or watching a trash soap, so I fail to see the difference there. If anything, gaming as a hobby would allow you to participate, if you wanted. Pretty sure it doesn't need to be MW specifically. However, I'd worry much more about the alcohol. TV or gaming is simply a nice way to waste some time, and that's very often just a phase until it gets boring, but alcohol is really bad for you, health-wise and regarding taking duties seriously and destroying your life. It sounds like he has a gaming addiction. I love gaming, but not to the point of ignoring my partner and neglecting my animals. I think you two just aren't compatible honestly. I think he should be with someone who has a similar, if not the same love for gaming, and you deserve someone who wants to spend time with you. You could get into gaming too, but it's not like this is exactly a healthy lifestyle. Honestly, I think it's a mistake to blame the gaming. He's a neglectful person, and gaming just happens to be what he fills his time with. Focus on what's missing in his routine, otherwise it'll turn into an argument about, it's either the games or me, and then everyone winds up looking childish in the end. Unless he has a legitimate addiction to gaming and feels he needs to play games when he doesn't even want to anymore. Then the gaming might actually be the cause of the problem instead of just a symptom. I game, but it has become something I do in my spare time. That means I also work, cook, exercise, do things around the house, and most importantly, spend time with my wife. As for advice, it's a tough situation you are in. He is living like a bachelor. You could try starting small, schedule 1 hour every night where you guys spend some time together. Maybe a walk with the dog, or watch a show, or just chat over some wine. If he isn't willing to give an hour a night to your relationship, I think you need to ask yourself what you need to be happy, and that's a tough question. Sounds like your husband may be addicted to video games if he's ignoring all his responsibilities. It depends. My husband goes to work for both of us, and I stay home and take care of the house. So when he comes home, he's playing WoW pretty much until he goes to bed. But I get to stay home. I work part-time from home doing transcription, but the deal is I'm the homemaker. I'm perfectly okay with this. I hated my last 2 jobs bullshit outside the home, so because he's doing the hard work, I leave him to game. If, however, I was still working full-time outside the home, that would not fly, and I would expect household chores to be 50-50. My boyfriend games nearly every night for hours and I hate it so much. He realizes this and every now and again makes a conscious effort to play less. For example, the last 2 weeks HES only played about 4 or 5 times, however I reckon soon he'll go back to playing most nights. As much as I'd love him to stop playing and spend time with me, it is his hobby and it's one of the only times he gets to speak and hang out with his friends who he rarely sees now. It's taking a lot of compromises on both sides. I have the similar issue. My boyfriend, we've been together 10 years, is constantly on the computer. He literally finishes work, shuts down the laptop and turns on the computer. I think I've seen him get up once today, and it's been hours. And also, today is my birthday, he didn't spend 1 single minute with me. And what is even worse, we just talked about it yesterday, about him ignoring me all the time. We don't spend any time together. I thought of giving him a month because I expected at least some change, but I think I'll leave sooner. It is very difficult because I love him, but I feel like I'm not even in relationship. I would not tolerate this. This one of the reasons I left my ex-fiancé and I'm so glad I did. I wouldn't tolerate what he's doing. My fiancé games just about every night. However, we have dinner together, he does the dishes, feeds the cat, and anything else that's a priority before he gets on his computer. And we go to bed together at a decent time. Being a gamer doesn't mean you get to ignore your real-life priorities. He's being incredibly selfish. I'm not usually an ultimatum person, but you can say things change or you're done. Either you'll get your husband back to some extent or you'll continue on the same way in a quieter house. This isn't about gaming at all. This has long exceeded the status of a simple hobby. He's an alcoholic, an addict and neglecting his whole life. That is far from normal. How about get your own hobby and entertain yourself? Start by training your dog. Greater than modern warfare. I think you meant modern warfare. I'm the wife and I game all the time. Get your own hobbies and life so you don't resent his. He is literally just trying to be happy and that makes you unhappy. Get your own gaming setup and play next to him. If you can't beat them, join them. Long as he ain't playing you. Firstly, I'm a gamer. Secondly, he's disassociating. He's acting like a single guy, which he isn't. I'd honestly sit down and say to him, there needs to be changes. If he's not willing to change, he's already made his decision on what he wants out of life, which is 100% unfair to you. Gaming for some people can be as bad as an addiction. If it's been going on a while, maybe you need to consider in virtual couples counseling to have someone who's there to mediate the dialogue as you discuss with him how his gaming is affecting your marriage. Your husband doesn't respect you or your relationship. As an avid gamer, I ensure my house, kids, and wife's needs are met before I game. I'd drop an ultimatum on him. Me and my BFS all game, triad living together. Not a single one of us ignores our adult responsibilities to do it, or each other. I don't think this is okay. I play video games that my partner isn't into, but I try to limit time spent on it. During the lockdown we've settled on 4 to 5 hours spent on Saturday with my friends. I think talking with my wife helped. She doesn't like games like Dota, or COD, where I can't take my attention away for even a second if she needs something. But she's okay with me spending time with my friends on a game like, say, Factorio, where I can take short breaks at any time. I certainly wouldn't suggest playing every day because my relationship with her would suffer, but more than that, I don't even have friends who would be willing to play every day. What you described would not be tolerable to me. I have experienced a similar situation with a past partner and they would not agree to quieting down or any other reasonable request. Of course, these inconsiderate characteristics followed suit in many other aspects of the relationship to me. Speaking from someone who dated an addictive gamer and is marrying someone who still really likes gaming, he's going to do it if that's something he enjoys, and he should. However, if he's not willing to listen to you and respect you when you're asked for some type of agreement, that's a different problem. I have never been able to set up a formal agreement with my fiancé, but when I made him feel guilty or got upset about it, it just caused a more intensive rift. We worked it out quickly. You need to be calm and reasonable and find a way it will work for you. Be flexible, but firm that the current way things are going isn't viable. My boyfriend does the same, but I really don't care. I've always been happy to see him get excited when he wins at Modern Warfare, and the next day we watch some recorded videos of his online games. I haven't seen my boyfriend 5 months ago because of this pandemic and I miss him so much. Yes, because my boyfriend and I both do it. But we have clear boundaries and an understanding of each other's needs. We also get everything done that needs to be done before gaming. Nope. What's the point of even being married to him? I literally left my husband over this. We had a schedule for a bit, where the agreement was we would hang out for an hour or two before he would game. But it always felt like spending time with me was just checking a box on an obligation until he could go do the thing he actually wanted to do, and it hurt a lot. I got sick of going to sleep by myself every night. In the 3 years he was heavily addicted, he never once chose time with me over gaming. I thought it would get better, or it was a phase, but it only got worse and it destroyed my self-esteem. I wish I had left sooner. It was the hardest decision I ever made, but I am so much happier now. Sounds like my ex-husband. He would get home from work and immediately start drinking beer and playing video games. Every single day. It was very frustrating going to sleep to the sound of drunk yelling and video games. He wouldn't keep the noise down even when we lived in a tiny apartment and I needed to wake up early for work. I eventually realized that he was inconsiderate and I was at the bottom of his priority list. I am much happier now being away from that awful relationship. Let me preface this by saying that I love video games. It would all depend on whether or not he was able to keep up with other household commitments. Is he walking the dog like he's supposed to? Is he doing his share of the chores? Is he being an engaged partner in the relationship? What you're describing sounds a bit beyond what may be healthy. If his gaming is so loud and raucous with his buddies and it's interfering with your sleep and you tell him and he doesn't care enough to change, then it's an issue. Just flat out tell him, I feel neglected. I would like time where it's just you and me. Some people are just emotionally obtuse, and he may not realize just what he's doing to the relationship by focusing on his gaming and buddies. So talk it out, see what happens. He only does what you allow him to do. If you say enough is enough, then that's it. He must compromise, and if he won't, then it's time to move on. Tolerate, yes. It's his hobby. Just speak to him about having dinner and walking the dogs with you, maybe. Maybe ask him to be considerate at times and ask to watch a movie or play a game with you from time to time. Instead of posting up automatically. What the absolute hell? How do people that immature get married? No, I wouldn't, because he's a grown man and not a teenage boy. Don't wait around for him. Go do fun stuff and pursue your interests. If he still won't join you and doesn't care how his gaming erodes your relationship, then maybe it's time for marriage counseling. Sounds like he needs to make a schedule. Lucky for me, both my partner and I game, but we never neglect our pets. Even when I lived alone with my 2 dogs and worked full-time and still made time for other things like eating, taking my dogs out, cleaning and such. And believe me, I can play for hours and sometimes not sleep, but my responsibilities are something that also come with adulthood. Tell him he can have most of the things he wants but has to sacrifice something if he wants it all. He doesn't understand your frustrations, but maybe he is having some issues that you may not understand. It sounds like it's time for a good chat and hopefully he opens up. Why is he being so selfish and neglecting you? If you two can't compromise on things, then this isn't a relationship but a dictatorship from him end. And clearly asking nicely isn't a thing anymore. I'd probably take the internet out and make him talk and listen. If he is neglecting his other duties, then yes, it is an issue. Nothing wrong with it as a hobby, but not when it takes over your life. What I do is come home from work and hang out with my girlfriend till 7 or so, then get on. But she also works nights and goes to sleep around 7 to nap before work, so my situation is different. I wouldn't so much have an issue with video games, I would have an issue with the fact that I was not being made a priority in his life. Playing games with your friends a couple nights a week is understandable to blow off steam, but ignoring your wife every night in order to play games is immature and shows he's not pulling his weight in the relationship. No, I wouldn't tolerate it. I would get a divorce or find a side man to have fun with. No. If he doesn't have time for you, and doesn't have time for you yourself, it sounds a lot like he doesn't have time for a partnership, and I'd say exactly that. Either work on this marriage or GTFO.